So today, as you can see, I'm back in the garage. I'm back working on the good old Nissan. There's a few little jobs I want to do, like the wiper motor, rear window, rear defog, and the lights on buzzer. So lots to do on a freezing cold day, so we'll get some tools and we'll get started. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is actually replace the actual wiper motor with the original one. This is the one that came on the actual car a long time ago. As you can see, it's not in bad condition. It's a little bit worse for wear in some areas where it needs cleaning up, that's all, and the cover's a bit loose. I think I usually scavenged a few parts off it, like these screws, etc. So I'm going to actually clean this one up, because I know this one actually lines up in the correct orientation for the wipers. So I'm going to actually give this a good clean all this metal up, get it all nice and shiny again, get all the grease and dirt off it with a wire brush. I'll probably swap the cover for the one that's on there because that's painted, and I'm going to put some new screws in here. I think I've got a few lying about somewhere in my parts box, and hopefully this should do the trick and the wiper should actually line up in the correct orientation after I've messed about with this. So I'm going to get some a little bit of paint thinner on there, I think, and a wire brush, clean all this up, just give it a bit of a scrub with a toothbrush as well, get some of the dirt off the actual switch and the wires, and hopefully it'll make it look a lot nicer. So my next step is basically to remove the wipers and the cowl so I can get the old motor out and replace it with the other one. I am going to probably swap this cover onto the other one, saves me repainting it. So first thing first is the wipers, and I think they're a 14, so I'll just grab a 14 spanner. So my next step is quickly unplug that. So I'll put that out of the way. I think I'm going to have to undo the strut brace as well. And then it's just these little Allen keys, and it's got a little nut on the back of the well as well there, I think. This off, so we can get it on the bench, so we'll pull the parts over onto the other one. So I've just been cleaning the old wiper motor, which is going to be the replacement for this one, and I've been checking the actual orientation of the actual cut out in the screw there. You can see it's got like a little cut out. Just going to focus on that. It's like a little flat edge on each side that sits into the actual wiper arms, and they're exactly the same orientation. So I think I'll be wasting my time basically cleaning this one up, repainting all this one, when it's going to be exactly the same orientation as this one. So I don't think this is the problem. I was told this was going to be the problem, that this is going to be in the complete different orientation to this one, because this was originally from the original car, when it was an E13, and this is actually from the ZX, from the 1.8. So they said put the E13 one back on, and it should work alright. It should actually mean the wipers should go back in the right place. But I don't know if you can see on camera, just come round. And you see the actual cutouts there and the actual arms. They're pretty much identical, aren't they? So I think I'll be wasting my time cleaning that one up. I may clean it up in a way in my leisure, just as a little backup one, paint all the actual cover as well, like I did with this. So I may even just continue with that anyway, just off camera, as a little sideline, as a hobby, basically just as a backup, just in case this one burnt out or anything like that, or stopped working for some reason. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a play around with the actual arms in the wiper cavity and see if I can actually line them up a little bit better first before I slot this in, because I think it's just basically installation error on my part rather than a fault in the actual wiper motor, I hope. Okay, so I'm having a look at the actual arm here, and this is what you can see, that this is what attaches to the actual motor, is that little arm there. So I think this may have moved here on this pin here, which is like a little plastic grub screw. So if I can undo that, I might be able to put that on to the motor, realign the actual wiper blades into the correct orientation, and then attach this, I think. Anyway, so I'll see if I can undo that. I'll have to do that off camera because I can't do it with one hand, and hopefully that should work. It may have come off at some point. I can't even remember. It's so long ago since I built the car. I did take all the wiper mechanism out, so this may have even come off at some point. Okay, I'll do that now. Okay, so you can see here, if it's going to focus, come back a little bit, the actual little locking screw there fits through there and locks into that. Let's see that little tiny hole there. That's what it locks into. So that stops it from coming off. So in theory, I should be able to put this on the actual motor and line up the actual windscreen wipers in the correct orientation, backs and forwards. So it should be all the way down, should be to the left. So I should be able to do it that way, line up that way. But what I'm going to do first is give this a really good clean, because it's absolutely disgusting, covered in grease. So I'll give it a clean, maybe a little bit of a wipe over, some silicone, just to give it a bit of lubrication, and we'll start rebuilding it. Right, so I've got the little mechanism here, just in this little pot. I've just sprayed it with some WD-40, then clean it with some silicone spray, just to give it a bit of a lubrication and a clean. And I've also, while the motor was off, I've repainted the actual cover because it had a bit of a scratch in it. So hopefully the strut brace shouldn't rub on this anymore. If I move the strut brace, just turn it up, tilt it up a little bit, stop it from rubbing on there, so it won't mark the paint again. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go and put this back on the car, attach the little mechanism with the original washer and nut, and hopefully I'll be able to line the wiper motor arms back up to get the actual wiper in the correct orientation. Okay, there's been quite a bit of swearing and cursing trying to get that clip back on, but I've managed to do it, and I've put the wiper blade basically where it's going to go. It's probably going to sit a little bit lower. I'll probably clock it a little bit so it moves down to about here, but I'm just going to try and make sure it actually sets back and rests back in its correct position. Hopefully it will. Now I've adjusted that little pin. There we go. Perfect, absolutely perfect, because before it used to stop, it used to go down and then back up, when we've seen in a previous video. That's perfect, brilliant, it's just what I want. So I will clock it so it sits a little bit closer to the actual scuttle. Okay, so this actual rear electric winder here has been broken for a long time, actually before I actually restored the car. I actually found out an N13 window mechanism, the actual motor, etc., the whole lot, fits in the N13 doors with just a little modification. I did a full video on it when I did that door over there. I'll put a link to it somewhere around here and you can have a look at that if you're interested, but it's basically the exact same on this side, so I won't actually go into too much detail in it. What you do is just basically take the card off, drill a couple of holes to actually fit the motor in properly, and I think, if I remember rightly, up is now down and down is now up, but that's fine. I'm not really too worried about that. I can either deepen it and swap it around the other way if I'm that way inclined, if I want to in the future, but to me a little thing like that is, if you can't figure that out, then you shouldn't be really driving a car, should you? So what I'm going to do now is unscrew all this, take it all apart, take the door card off and whip the motor out and replace it with the N14 one. So I've got the door card all back on, all nicely cleaned up, window winder, everything works perfectly now. So the next thing I'm going to do is see if I can get the lights on buzzer to work. Now I have done a little bit of investigating and I've realised I never connected the door switches. So that's probably why the buzzer doesn't work, because it's not actually connected. So you turn the light on and then it doesn't actually come on at all with the light switches, it thinks it's permanently off. So what I have to do is I have to release the panel here. I don't know if you can see, it's got a bit dark. I apologise. Release the panel here behind the seat here, so I'll move the seat forward. See if we can actually get to this panel. I might have to remove the actual seat belt system, I don't know yet. And see if I can get to the switch. Now, when I actually built the car, I actually used 2 looms to actually modify the dash clocks, ECU, engine and loom, etc. Because I went from a carburetted car to a injection, so I had to use part of the loom for the fuel pump and the clocks and the ECU, etc., like I just said. So I have still got the old loom in here for the 4-door system, because the central locking is still working on the 4-door, where the ZX I got the engine from was a 2-door. So in theory I should have both sets of door pin wiring in the sections here, in the B posts, and it should really only work on the driver's door, but I'll see if I can get that pin to work as well on the passenger side. So the panel popped off really easily, just basically removing the little trim here, and that just slid off nicely. It's just ABS plastic. I'll give all this a clean while it's off. Metal here wants a bit of a clean as well. Beauty about having my 2-door seats as well, I can fold them all the way forward, so it gives me plenty of room. The wiring loom I can see, but I can't actually physically see the door switch pin, so I think I'm just going to pop the seat belt mechanism out here. It's just a Phillips screw there, and I think 17 down the bottom there. Hope you can see, it's not too dark. 17mm there, so I'll just whip that out and give it a bit more access. Right, I've done some investigating and I found the plug for the 3-door ZX. It has power, as you can see there, but when I turn the light off, so I can just rest this. I'm doing all this one-handed, so I hope I can try and show it. If I turn the light on, sorry, that goes off. The light is now on, the dome light is on, and so it's on to accessory, that comes on, so it's got feed. So I'm turning it on and off. So I know that is the power for the actual light, but the switch for the actual plug itself is just a single wire and it's a lot smaller. So maybe I'm missing part of the loom somewhere. Could I splice into that? Because I've tested this and there's no power to this at all. So I could, in theory, I could cut that. So this is not doing anything. Just a single wire, take that off and then test it with the plug in there, couldn't I? I think. Right, I'll give that a go. I think I'll trim that off because that's actually doing nothing. There's no power going to that at all. But I can't actually cut all this loom apart here because that's actually the loom for the passenger door. I think that's why I used it, because like I said before, I went from a 3-door engine loom and body loom to a 4-door, so I had to use both looms. But unfortunately the door one doesn't work. Yeah, I'm going to cut that off, tape all that up, make sure it's all nice and safe, and then I'll see if I can splice this into the other plug. Okay, so this is a bit of a bodge. I've actually taken the wire, like I said before, from the actual loom here, and spliced it into another piece of wire, and then I basically pushed it into the loom here, just into the end of the plug, and the dome light is working, but when I press the switch it turns off. So the dome light is on, so the door is open, press the switch, close the door, the light goes off. Ha! So that's perfect. So now I've got to test, see if the buzzer works when the lights are on. So I think that might be connected to one of these wires or other wires in the actual 3-pin plug. But I'll turn the lights on anyway, so ignition is on, I think. Yep. Keys are in the ignition. So in theory you should be able to come out of the car with the lights on, turn the lights on, take the key out, and the light thing stays on, but the buzzer doesn't work. So it might be just the buzzer that's gone. But at least I've got the switch to work now, so I'm going to neaten all that up, solder the wires together, little heat shrink on there, so I know that's working. But I'm going to keep that 3-pin plug separate if I can. I'll just splice into it with the wire in, so we don't actually, so the plug's still there, so I'll just splice into the wire further down, and then I'll have a look, see if I can find the little buzzer. Okay, so after hours of being upside down, giving myself a headache, I cannot find the actual lights on buzzer. I'm trying to remember if I actually fitted it or not, and I'm pretty sure I did, but I can't find it anywhere. So what I think I'm going to do, instead of just messing about trying to get the old thing working, I'm going to see if I can buy myself a new one from Timo or something, only about 4 or 5 quid from there, and just wire that in. Just have to make sure I just turn the lights off. It's simple as that, really. But I'm glad the actual interior light works now. Works on the old door switch, which is absolutely perfect. So all I've got to do now is have a look at the actual demister, and I think I know why it's not working. See if you can actually see the problem. Sorry if the light's a bit terrible. I think you'll probably find out there it's not actually connected. That's why it doesn't work. So I'm going to whip this panel off here, just by undoing the seatbelt mount there, and wire it in, and it should work. All being well. So quite a lot of work has been done off camera again. I've reattached all the panel now. That's all been soldered and heat shrunk and wired in, so that's all working lovely. And now I've taken the panel off the back here, and it's now attached. So fingers crossed it should work. I don't see why it shouldn't be attached on that side. I did a circuit test on it and put the power on the actual dashboard, and power comes to there and there, so it should work. Not that I take it out in the damp or anything like that, but I have driven back from a show last year and the rear window was completely misted up and I couldn't demist it. So it is something, a nice handy tool to have. So it's been quite an eventful couple of days, probably only 15 minutes or so in YouTube world, but I'm really pleased with the interior light. I'll show you through the window. There you go. Goes off. Open the door, comes on. Simple things in life. So there we go, a few jobs done on the Nissan. I've been putting those off for quite a while, and so I'm glad I've actually got them done. So now I've just got to finally fix that little leak on the exhaust. Only a tiny little leak now, I think it's a pinprick. Just done where I welded the actual flange on, so I'm going to sort that out all off camera, so you've seen that all before. And we're going to get to some shows. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, drop me a comment below. Don't forget to like this video. Subscribe, of course, because I'm nearly at 1,000 subscribers. And I'll see you in the next video.